All right, everybody, welcome. Good morning. Today, we're going to talk about our pipeline. So who wants to give me about a 10-second explanation of what they consider pipeline? What's your pipeline to you, Holly?
Right out the gate.
Right out the gate. Coming right at you.
I had to go over this with Stephanie the other day because I overthink it way too much. But people that I'm actively showing, hopefully to be under contract within a week or two. That's who I consider my immediate pipeline.
Okay, so you added a good quantifier there, immediate. So to hold on to that thought, okay. Nate, how about you, buddy? Give me pipeline. Tell me what pipeline means to you.
I don't necessarily know that it has to be immediate, but I would say it's just, how you have your lineal plan for getting them from A to, Z. So that could be, someone that calls in and they're hot, or it could be someone that is a watch that says they're a year out, and all the little steps in between is really your pipeline and getting them to that final closing table.
That's a good approach. I like that analogy. Dexter, why don't you give us your take?
So you can hustle every day and grab low-hanging fruit, those people that want to buy now or need to list right now, but you also need to make sure that you're building something for later on down the line. And so exactly what he just touched on with the watch category, they're people that you're touching on a monthly basis, knowing that it's going to pan out later on.
Absolutely. Great point. And that's a great segue into the document that I want to share with you guys. So I put this together just as a visual because visuals are usually helpful for people. They're always really helpful for me. So let's use this and hopefully it'll help you guys just kind of picture it a little bit. So when you're thinking of a pipeline, you want to think of it like a funnel. So at the top, it's large, right? And we're catching all of these leads. You guys are getting 40 to 50 leads a month through your Boomtown. Now, Dexter, I don't know what you guys are using, but Boomtown is our CRM and our main source of leads. So we're catching all these leads and we're working to convert them. And that funnel is going to get slimmer, right? As we work down, as we qualify and quantify people and get them and get information from them to figure out where they're going. So some really big things to think about with your pipeline. Categories are an absolute must. All right. It's not just enough that I'm working with these people or I've had a conversation with these people or that I know something about them or that I've got the LP out of LP Mammal, right? It's how much do I know and where do I categorize them appropriately, because that's going to determine how often I'm touching them and how often I'm getting back to them, re-engaging with them, getting back to provide value, checking on where they are in the process, see if the alerts are still making sense for them, ask them how their job search is coming, how's the transfer coming, how's school wrapping up because they're waiting for their kids to finish school before they start looking. All of those things, which you'll utilize in your Boomtown notes, right? But that's why you want to make sure you're putting them in the right place. So we can talk about categories a little bit more in depth on another call. But for the main purpose is after we have a new lead and after we qualify them, that we're going to put them in one of three places, right? Hot, nurture, and watch. And you should always have a pretty good idea of how many of these you have, right? And you need to categorize them honestly. Don't put somebody in hot because you know they're going to buy, even though it's going to be in a year. That's not a hot lead. That's somebody who is going to be a hot lead if you maintain the relationship the right way, but they're not a hot lead now. So, Brandon, you got a good idea of how many you have in hot, nurture, and watch right now? Ballpark it?
Yeah, if you pull it up, I might be wrong, but I try to have, 4 to 6 people in hot at any given moment. In nurture, I like to have about double that. Typically 12 to 15, not more than 20. I think if you've got more than 20 in nurture, they're probably not categorized correctly. And then in watch, it's 100 or more typically,
And so that mirrors pretty closely what the graphic says on the right side of the sheet, right? That's pretty close. And this is based on, for this purpose, the way I built it, having a goal of around 24 a year. But it's also going to fluctuate based on how well you're able to convert. And we're going to talk about conversion in a little bit as well. But another way to think about this is extrapolate from your yearly goal. Okay, if your yearly goal is 24, well, how many do you have to close a month? Well, on average, it's 2, right? All right, so it's a good idea to skip down on the left-hand side a little bit to have double the number in each category that you need to make sure that you have enough people in your pipeline, because people are going to drop off. Things are going to happen. People that you've qualified to a certain point aren't going to make it to the next step for a number of reasons. It might be because their job situation changed, their life situation changed. They couldn't sell their house. They decided to move to another part of the country. It might be because you didn't follow up with them. Could be one of a number of things. So kind of remember that you want, on average, kind of double what you need each month. So if your goal is to close 2 every month, you should definitely be working 4 to 6 hot leads in your boomtown, or have that many people that you're working with. And what's hot mean? They're in your car and they're pre-qualified. They're ready to write an offer today. Not you've talked to them, yeah, I want to buy a house. Yeah, they've signed an agency agreement, but they hadn't talked to the lender. They still need to sell their house. It's not a hot lead, right? Then that's a nurture or a watch, depending on their time frame. So reverse engineer also from your previous year's activity. And that's why we track our data every day, right? So we know how many calls we're putting in to see what we get put out. Now let's skip to the bottom right-hand corner real quick. Miriam, this will kind of apply to you because you don't have any historical data because you're onboarding right now, right? So you can use what were our team averages from 2021 that we used in general when we set our goals back in December of last year. And they're pretty cut and dry. They're leading indicators. On average, last year, it took us 5 dials to have one conversation. And from those 1 conversations, it took 6.5 of those to book 1 new appointment. And from every 2 appointments that we had, we converted 1 agency agreement. And then our agency agreement to closing was really good. So once we got people to agency, we're getting them to the closing table by and large. You see 1.1 to 1. That's a good ratio. So that's great. It means when we get people there, we're getting them the rest of the way. However, what you want to think about is where can you improve? You know, I always talk with you guys about being really efficient. And over time, I want you to either achieve more with the same amount of effort or achieve the same with less effort, right? Say 30 is the max you want to do and you're at 30. You can figure out how to use less effort to get to 30 next year, or the same amount of effort might take you to 40 or 35, something like that. Where you want to look at is, can we improve on this dials to conversions ratio? Can we get it from 4 dials to have a conversation? Can we get it from 6.5 conversations to an appointment down to 5? I mean, that's a huge increase when you think about it percentage wise, conversion. So think about those. Can you get it from 50% appointments to new agency agreements? Now, 2 to 1 sounds really good.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Doug. One question for you.
Yeah.
Those dials, every time you dial, are you leaving a message? Are you leaving a voicemail? Or do you follow it up with a text right after? Because nobody listens to voicemails anymore, it seems.
We do. We don't have a set that we require everybody do. It will depend.
Okay.
But you know, we're also using a pretty robust qualified drip that we've built in Boomtown that everybody is using, which involves text, email, and then follow-up calls.
There's no harm in doing both. You don't know. I mean, to me, like you might, it's easy to say nobody listens to voicemails, but your audience might be an older audience. So they might listen to voicemails and not do text. So it doesn't hurt to do both, in my opinion.
Nate,
good point.
In line with what you're saying, Nate, I don't do that for qualifies, but if I have someone in watch, every time I call, I leave a voice message. I immediately text them afterwards, and I send them the exact same thing in an email. I hit almost every watch
Wow.
3 times with every phone call. I would rather you tell me stop than just not be there. And most times, if I've had good conversations with people prior to that point, they respond in one shape, fashion, or form or another. And that's all I want. I just want to know that you're still there and we're still engaging.
I think those are all great points. I'm a big fan of doing both. Here's another thing to think about. Very often you can tell when the voicemail pops up if it's a home machine, which, believe it or not, a lot of people still have, or maybe not a machine, but it's a home, it's a landline or a mobile line. We have different drip set up for people who have landlines versus who have mobile lines because we can't text them then. So then it becomes more of an email heavy drip. So I will almost always leave an email and then follow up with a text if I know that it's a mobile, just, hey, this is who I am, because a lot of times you'll get a call back and they haven't even listened to your voicemail, to your point, right, Derek? It's like, hey, who just called me? Or I'm sorry, Dexter, who just called me, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, well, I left you a message, but so that's why I'll follow up with kind of the same quick message to kind of maybe prompt a quick reply. And then a lot of times you can get a conversation going in the text chain, which can lead to a phone call.
Well, thank you for sharing.
No, thank you. So thinking about that and those conversion averages, base your work plan based on either your numbers or team numbers and break it down, extrapolate it. Know how many you have to make in a year and then break it down by month, by week, by day. So it's something manageable. Okay. And then use your accountability devices, your ideal weekly schedule and your daily activity record to make sure that you're doing stuff when you said you're going to do it. All right, let's jump back to the left-hand side because there's a lot of back and forth here. Like I just said, reverse engineer from your previous year's activity. That's so important. You got to do it based on something. You can't just say, hey, I want to achieve this and throw stuff at the wall and hope for the best. All right, use some data. We say we're data driven when we talk to our clients about CMAs and meaningful offers, right? So you got to do the same with your work approach. Another thing that I think is really important is, Dexter, you touched on this too when you talked about low-hanging fruit. Immediate hot leads, things that pop up immediately from your sphere, from referrals, or even from the internet, they should help you exceed your goals. You don't want to be counting on something falling out of the sky to say, whoo, I got my second or third contract.
Yeah, I got my mortgage paid this month. No.
And that's exactly right. That's how you live paycheck to paycheck. That's not building a pipeline. That's not building a career. That's holding on by the skin of your teeth. And I don't want anybody to do that, right? So that's why it's so important to really focus on your pipeline. As you guys know, which we have talked about, Boomtown leads on average are converting at a 2 to 4% rate. Some are going to convert higher, some lower. But that's not just because of the lead source. It's also how much you put into it, the effort you put into it. How much value are you providing in these messages that you're leaving, or just in the text that you're leaving for people if you can't reach them on a qualified call? Are you trying to leave value? Are you trying to provide value? Or are you trying to ask questions that's going to help them understand that you're really there to help them? Or are you saying, thanks for registering, what can I do for you?
Just checking in.
Right. Please don't check in. Never check in with me. Check out. Right. Take a look at your pipeline on a regular basis and make sure that you always know what it is. Now, we do this in our meetings. It should be in your Boomtown. You need to be talking about it in your one-on-one meetings with your BIC. But more than anything, you should know, because this is your business. Right? And you need to be making sure that you're managing your business. If you don't know what your numbers are, well, what are you waiting for? At any given time, I should be able to ask you how many hots you have, and you should be able to respond. And if you don't have enough to achieve your goal for that month, you should be prospecting. What are you doing? What are you doing to help get your pipeline full? What are you doing to help bring people along? what I want you guys to understand, and we talk about this because, you know, everybody, when they onboarded, they came here because they wanted to be career focused, right? This isn't a side gig. This isn't a side hustle. I'm not also doing X, Y, and Z. I'm a full-time real estate agent. It's all I want to focus on, right? Well, if you want to do that, the best way to ensure your success and sustain success and consistent success is manage your pipeline and build your pipeline and nurture your pipeline and bring people through the pipeline. If you feed the funnel, if you put them in there, it's going to feed you. It's going to come out on the other end. Who wants to add something to that? What else you guys got?
I have a question. I have a question amongst everybody here in the group. Are most on this call single agents or teams? What's the dynamic? Because with Boomtown, you mentioned having the drip plans and things like that. I'm on a single user old program, and so they're trying to upgrade me to the next one that allows for more users, but I'm a single agent. But I'm to the point where the pipeline, all of these leads, there's 5,000 leads in Boomtown all together. So they're telling me you need to move up. And I know that I need somebody on the team to help with all the leads. But where does everybody stand on here? Are you single agents, like you're mentioning the numbers that you have in hot, nurture, and things like that? Or are those team driven?
We're all single agents, but we work as a team.
Okay.
So we use the
Okay.
team, we use the word team, Dexter, like a sports team, meaning we collaborate and work together to support each other, mastermind together, all of those things.
Okay.
We're an independent brokerage, and there are no quote unquote teams within the brokerage. Everyone is an individual
Okay.
agent within the brokerage.
Okay. So where do you span out to? Where's everybody from on this call?
We have 2 offices in North Carolina, one in Raleigh, which is where I'm located, and then we have one at the coast.
Okay.
Near-
All right. I
near
just helped somebody
Topsail.
move here from North Carolina. Okay.
Did you really? Nice. What area?
Well, what's that?
Which area?
They were in
did they move from?
the home.
Uh-huh.
They moved from Raleigh.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this?
Well-
Do you guys feel like you're doing this? Are
Doug,
you
one
man-
thing I would add, especially for the newer agents, the longer you're in this game, the more calls you make, the more serious you take it, the more focused you are and actually put in the work, the better your conversion numbers get, right? So your first year, it may take you 10 dials to have one conversation. And that's really the metric that you have the least control over. But you start closing more appointments and fewer conversations as your career goes on because you get better at this. You start getting more appointments, more agency agreements, more people under contract, more listings. That's just the nature of becoming a seasoned veteran with experience and being around people that know what they're doing and are helping you. And you figure out how to use these scripts and put them in your own vernacular or your own tone. So don't let the numbers be daunting to you. You should be getting better every single year. And if you're not, and almost everybody does, and everyone on this call will be, but if you're not, that's an opportunity for you to have a conversation with a colleague or a mentor or a peer or your broker in charge to say, hey, my numbers are kind of tracking where they were last year. I'm in my second or third year. I should be getting better at this every year. And work and find a plan on what to improve on. But I can promise you that if you're not treating it like a full-time job, your numbers won't get better.
I think you make a great point about don't let the numbers be daunting. It's just like with our accountability. This is to guide you, is to give you a frame of reference so you can plan your attack, right? So you have a loose idea of what you need to put in to hopefully get out to achieve your goals. And that's what it's all about. It's about understanding how to get from A to B to C to D. I encourage you guys to do this. I would say go today and look at your pipeline and make sure that you know what you've got in each category and that they're in the correct categories based on their timeline and not just their intent, but based on their timeline and what you know about them and what boxes you have checked to make sure that they're ready, right? Because part of moving people through the pipeline is understanding where they are and what they have, but also where they aren't and what they don't have, so you can provide that value to make sure that they get it, so they're able to progress. Just wanting to be somewhere in 6 months doesn't mean they're going to be able to get there. We're here to help make sure that they take the appropriate steps. And that's only going to happen through follow-up, conversation, asking the right questions, providing that value, and then connecting them with the right resource. Who's got anything else to add? I'll let you guys get about your day if we're good to go.
I'm good. Great information.
Well, I hope it was helpful. I really appreciate you joining us. If you want to drop your email.
I've got a lot of work to do.
Well, get after it. If you want to drop your email in the chat, I'll add you to our email list
Yeah.
so you'll know about future
Absolutely.
ones. And
Okay.
love to stay in touch with you. If you got anybody headed our way, hit us up. I don't think we know any agents in your
Absolutely.
area, so it's good to
Yeah,
grow our
send
sphere
me,
too.
okay. Yeah, wonderful. So just Ocean Air Realty, right? Or what?
Yep. I'll send you my email address
Okay.
in the chat, and then you can send me
Okay.
your stuff that way, and we'll stay in touch.
All right. That sounds great.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thanks everybody. I hope you have a great day. Get out there and show those houses and have some fun, Holly.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks everybody.
All right.
Nice
You
to meet
too.
you,
See ya.
Dexter. Take care, guys.
See y'all.
Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys.